Hello, I'm the illustrator at Cool Hat Studios, and today I'm going to walk you through my drawing process. I'll be using this illustration that I created for MerMay. If you're not familiar with MerMay, it's the time in May when people draw mermaids on social media. Kind of silly, but kind of fun. And so I start out with a sketch and then I make a vector illustration out of it. Now there are lots of different ways to draw, there are lots of different ways to even make vector illustrations, and all of them are pretty fun, so my way is definitely not the only way to do it, and it's good to play around and find the process that works best for you. Alright, so let's get started. I start with a sketch like I said, and so I'll get that all settled into Illustrator, and I will lower the opacity and lock that layer so that I don't mess around with it or make anything too confusing. And then I will set up a new layer that I will label blocking. You can label your layers whatever you like. So the layer that I draw on, I call the blocking layer. And so at this time, I just really block out the overall shapes of the drawing that I want to see. I don't get into the details yet. I just focus on the overall shape, and I just try to see the silhouette of it and make sure that everything looks good to your eye. After I've checked the silhouette and made sure that everything looks nice, and after I've made all the adjustments that I would like, I will move into the detail. And so I will lock the blocking layer, and I will create a new layer, and I will name that one like detail work or something like that, so that I'll know that this is going to be the layer that has like the eyes and the nose and the mouth and like some detail in the hair and things like that, and you'll just add things onto that layer as you need to, as you find things that need more detail. And so yes, so that's the stuff that I put on this layer. You'll notice that as I work on this, I start to work in grayscale. And so I do this because it really helps me figure out where the shadows are, how the lighting is, where I want shine to be, and stuff like that. And it helps me figure all that out before I get too bogged down into what colors do I want to have, right? So you can have so many different color combinations and color sets, and it really helps if you have the lighting already figured out, so that when you get to that phase where you're playing with color, you can just play with it and you don't have to adjust a million different shadows. So here I'm adding in shadows and highlights, and I have those on a separate layer, each of them named shadow and highlights. And so what we're trying to do with those shadows and highlights is provide some form and definition to our illustration. We're going to use these to provide contrast, visual interest, and really take our drawing to the next level. Now here you'll see that I'm starting to add in some highlights to the hair, and eventually I'll add in some shadows as well. And as I do this, I'm really looking to describe the hair and the way that it's moving. Even though we're making a still image, a still flat image, we still find ways to give it depth and to give it motion. And that really helps your drawing to look interesting and to be something that you want to look at and explore. You'll see here that as I've added in more shadows and more highlights into the hair, I actually take off the detail layer that I made for the hair. And that's because I feel that the shadows and the highlights have described enough of the form and the motion of the hair that I don't feel like I need those extra lines anymore. I could add them in back later, sometimes I do, but this time I'm feeling that I probably won't. So that's what I've got for you today. I'll be making another video that covers the coloring process for the same drawing, and I hope you'll stay tuned. I'll see you later. Thanks.